Yes, that is correct. Batman had a manga, made by manga writers, illustrated by manga writers, and published in Japan. The comic in question is called Batman Childhood Dreams, published in the year 2000, written by Kie Asamei, and if you have heard about Kie in the manga industry, then you're probably not surprised that he eventually went on to write a Batman manga. In multiple interviews, it's brought up how varied and vast his work is, and to really understand Batman Childhood Dreams, it's absolutely essential to comprehend Kie's background and Japan's wider relationship with American comics and culture. Born in 1963 in Kizukami, Japan, and like a lot of kids growing up in that area, he was exposed to anime and yes, several mangas, but he was explicitly stated that he was far more interested in anime as a child. However, on top of that, he was introduced to the Batman animated series, and has mentioned that he has particular fondness of the Tim Burton movies, and has also been inspired by a lot of American culture, which can be seen when he was asked, who was the greatest influence on your writing and artistic career? And he answered, there have been many, just to name a few: Mobius, Bob Kane, George Gonzalez, who works on Vampirella, Todd McFarlane when he worked on Batman, Bill Sienkiewicz, John Van Fleet, Jim Lee, Mike Mignola, Travis Terrace, Dave McKean, and Simon Bisley. And it should be noted that both McFarlane, Bill Sienkiewicz, John Van Fleet, Jim Lee, Travis Terrace, Dave McKean, and Simon Bisley have all worked on Batman at one point or another, so it's clear that Kie would have been interested in writing for this character. Though Japan has such a unique style and method of storytelling, you would be surprised how often Japanese culture takes inspiration from American comics and movies. However, here's the weird aspect about Childhood Dreams and how it translates the Batman mythos into the anime world. If you scroll across the anime section on Netflix, then you probably realize that the most popular animes are based in unreality and fantasy. Part of the appeal of anime is getting engaged in a fleshed out fantasy world. They 99% of the time have fantastical worlds, larger than life characters, and magical systems, which often take over the main appeal of the show. And this is not a bad thing necessarily, because it also allows artists, and particularly manga artists, can really go all out in their art to create imagery and worlds that you wouldn't otherwise see in a regular comic. I had to follow certain guidelines when writing and drawing Childhood Dreams. That was the most different of it all, and I could not use certain Japanese manga concepts in my version of Batman. Basically, it all had to have some basis in reality. In manga, there are no problems. If I suspend reality and illustrate something crazy or unbelievable, it may surprise the reader, but they know what I'm trying to achieve. However, the main rule of thumb when writing Batman is it realistic or not? That is more important than anything else. It was very difficult. I think the best way to show this phenomenon is to compare the American-made Batman animated films and the Japanese Batman animated film. Batman Mask of the Phantasm is about a man coming into conflict with his own personal happiness and his life purpose, and hence serves as a character study. Batman Red Hood is all about how much of our morals we should sacrifice in order to achieve our goals, and hence serves as a grounded crime thriller. Batman Ninja is elaborate. This isn't necessarily a bad thing, but as he says, Batman is a very realistic character. He's set in a grounded universe where his morals are understandable. The groundedness of the story really does help to add tension and stakes to a lot of Batman scenes, like in Batman Year One. To be fair, I think Childhood Dreams manages to avoid this problem most of the time. And as he has a clear commitment to this, as he reportedly went all the way to New York to make the model of Gotham City, which does show a lot of passion for trying to stick to what Batman is all about. Not to mention, this decision has really paid off. An often criticism of modern Batman comics and movies is the loss of the really grimy atmosphere of Gotham City, but here it has a distinct style. It focuses on bridges, crowded traffic, and contemporary architecture that really makes Gotham stand out. Some hardcore fans may complain the city's ambiance is more present day than the preferred neo-Gothic neo-noir tone, but I believe the black and white art style goes a long way of replicating that dark feel that Gotham City is supposed to have. Okay, we talked about the circumstances of the book, but we are yet to discuss the actual content of the story. And to that we'll have to thoroughly discuss the character Yoko Yagi, to which as he describes as, I made her someone who had never met Batman before, just like most of the Japanese readers. Yuko is the Japanese audience insert. Her primary purpose is to ease these new readers into the world of Batman, just like as he was gradually introduced to. And if you're looking at this book through the lens of the Japanese discovering what a cool character Batman can be, then some interesting analyses can be performed. First of all, I still give the mandatory plot description. There is a new drug on the streets of Gotham that will make your dreams come true. For a minute, for an hour, for a whole night, if you're lucky. You can literally become your idol, provided your idol is one of Batman's greatest enemies. It is up to Batman to find a supply for this surreal and deadly drug, and the search takes him to Tokyo for a confrontation with the ultimate chemically enhanced enemy. This acts as the main mystery throughout the book and the story, and is mixed in with a lot of exciting action as well as a love story with Bruce Wayne and Yuko. Anyway, I want you think about the fact that the main story involves people, particularly Japanese people, who love and adore an American icon to the point where they try to imitate them and make them their own. I think it particularly applies to Kia, because he's worked on so many American properties and at one point even illustrated a Japanese book version of Star Wars, The Phantom Menace. I think Kia is making a point of Japanese artists taking these staples of American culture and reappropriating them for their respective audiences. Lastly, there is a character in the book who takes his identity and adapts it to give a more Japanese aesthetic, which is quite unsubtle even by comic standards. And while I think this is a pretty cool phenomenon, a lot of American artists have done this in reverse. Upon further analysis, one begins to realize that this is less a critique of Japanese culture and more about how this is about Kia's own fixation on American properties. Allow me to explain. The main villain of the story, Kenji Tamaka, actively presents himself as a Batman fanatic. He says at several points, "I'm your biggest fan," builds a Batman monument, and even says, "You see, like most collectors, I'm a bit selfish. I doubt your own archives compared to mine. Souvenirs and memorabilia." Of course, we can apply the surface level argument that Kenji is a reflection of Kia, but they both are outsiders admiring an American icon. But it becomes quite apparent we realize that they are both have a lot of passion for Batman memorabilia. Work aside, I have a large personal collection of Batman memorabilia, and I have become very greedy, and I am collecting more and more. We slowly continue to see Kenji's fan-like obsession consume it, and it's taken to its logical conclusion. You said it to yourself, Batman. There's room for only one Dark Knight. You're growing old. An athlete has only a few years to excel, and his career is over. In such a brave new world, an aging Batman would not do. As your marketing people in America might say, it's time for a new and improved Batman. It should be stated that Kia isn't literally trying to become the next Batman. It does seem to be metaphorical of its obsession with Batman memorabilia and Batman properties, becoming quite uncontrollable and harmful to him. Not to mention, another large idea that reappears throughout the book is aging, becoming too old to continue to do what you love. Halfway through the book, Yuko and Batman are driving in the Batmobile. They see a figure in the distance and stop the car. The figure replies, "Get out of my car, imposter." The Batman and the imposter duel. The imposter plays on Batman's age. They say each man is his own enemy, and I am you, Batman, but younger. Your time, your ways are things of the past. A kick to the stomach. If your fighting style is antiquated. You have become an anachronism. Not only does it support these ideas of cultural reappropriation throughout with the imposter's description of Batman as anachronism, but it may also act as an allegory for what Kia was going through at the time. I am the same person today I was when I started. The only thing that has taken a toll on me is age. I have to slow down a little these days and actually rest. I used to never sleep. Here is grappling with trying to still be that young man who would write and illustrate all his own work but being held back by his own gradual mortality. This is further exemplified by Kenji, a character who is abundantly made clear to be a stand-in for Kia himself. You see, for all my research efforts, the only disease I could cure was my own. It's called progeria, a rapid speeding up of the aging process. I cannot speak for Kia Samini, but I can infer that during this time of his life, he was extremely afraid that he wouldn't be able to apply himself to an art form that he dedicated his entire life to, and wished to escape this fear by pursuing the fantasy of becoming his younger self, someone who is in peak physical condition, someone